Good afternoon. Do you know where your information is? Sure you do. It's right here on IVMS Insight Virtual Management Services Infopod. And I'm Robert Isaiah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Isaiah. I'm with Insight Virtual Management Services, and we provide quality of life information that we hope helps you out with your community engagement. We also provide community engagement resource information as needed, or when we get the information, we try to pump it out to you, because we want you to have all the tools that you need to rectify any quality of life situations that you or your family may run into. For instance, today we're going to be talking about how to deal with problem tenants and how to rectify that situation. We will briefly go into that. I think we're going to have a podcast all to itself regarding that type of scenario, and hopefully we can give you some insight to what to do when you're faced with a problem landlord or a problem tenant. But before we go there, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about something we've spoken about in previous podcasts, is the ongoing war of aggression that Israel is now waging on its neighbors under the guise of looking for terrorists or some such bullshit that they invent to attack another neighboring country. As we stated in a previous podcast, Israel does not want war to end. They want to escalate this war so they can do as much damage as they can. Remember, Israel is basically trying to acquire new land for their residents to get more land. That's why they have waged a genocidal warfare. And then the cowardly United States has, and it's cowardly, I want to make sure I pronounce that word correct. It's cowardly or cowards that are in their governments that are supporting Israel's right to exist. They're also, in reality, that in translation, Dateline, let me give you the scoop. Dateline, October 16, 2024. In reality, the U.S. government is supporting Israel's right to aggression against their neighbors. So whatever you do, you cannot believe one damn thing the U.S. government says, because they've been, as we say on the street, the United States has been sucking on the nuts of Israel for many years, and you can't believe one damn thing the U.S. government says in regards to Israel. Now, keep in mind, we're basically talking about the horrible scumbag piece of shit Israeli government run by that cowardly Benjamin Netanyahu. Basically, this fool has escalated the war beyond this border into Lebanon now, under the cowardly and suspicious guise of looking for Hezbollah terrorists, what have you, blah, 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 blah. We've heard it all before from various other tyrants when they attempted or did escalate a war of aggression. Hitler comes to mind off the top of my head. And I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do, do your research on what's happening in Israel. We provided you information in previous podcasts that, believe me, this so-called unprovoked war that started on October 7th of last year. Let me explain something to you. Like we say on the street, and explain something to you. That war was not unprovoked. It's been building in crescendo since the mid to late 40s. Remember, Israel was given land that people were already inhabiting for thousands of years. I want you to understand that, okay? They were given land that was being occupied and being lived on for thousands of years. So please don't you ever in your life believe that this war was unprovoked. This war, this provocation by Palestinian people has been building to a head since the mid to late 40s. With that being said, do your own research. If you don't want to believe what we said, we've done the research for you. We've showed you the information. We've given you the timeline of how this war escalated on October the 7th. So whatever you do, do your own research. You don't even have to believe what we say, but please, like the students that are currently and still, I believe, protesting against the horrible apartheid-based regime in Israel. They are basically the students are showing you that this war of aggression by Israel, as we stated, Israel does not want war to end. They want this war to escalate until they can embroil all Arab nations into this war. So make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is a war of aggression by Israel. Okay, this has nothing to do with terrorism. This has something to do with greed and the greed that encompasses stealing other people's land and their resources. You understand? Remember, back in the day when Israel was first given that land. That's right, I said given that land by the British. They were supposed to share it, but but you can see the character of the Israeli government. Okay, the arrogance and the arrogant character of the Israeli government, and how that government has used its influence over the weak and soft United States. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, the support that the United States is giving Israel is looked at by other countries that don't support Israel. And make no mistake, we don't have as much credibility overseas as you might think. Now, the people overseas that are supporting Israel, they may give the United States a semblance of credibility, but then that's basically the foxes giving other foxes credibility when they're about to raid the hen house. You understand? I had to throw a Malcolmism up at there right quick, but eventually also, like the Honorable Malik El-Shabazz, alias Malcolm X, teaches us, the chickens will eventually come home to roost. The problem is, by the time those chickens come home to roost, will the Palestinian people be wiped out? Because watch this, you do realize that Israel is such a scumbag place. The Israeli government are so bad in inside their heart and minds, ladies and gentlemen. They are so bad that they are not allowing aid to come in. So they are basically have created a humanitarian crisis based on a war that they have instigated against the Palestinian people. And please, I must say it again. This war that happened, this escalation, this attack was not unprovoked. Okay, so let's make sure you understand that. Right now, they are, I believe, fighting Lebanon. The same playbook that they use. Oh, we're looking for Hezbollah. Oh, we're looking for terrorists. Blah blah blah. No, this is a war of aggression. Okay, this is, and in fact, I think, in my opinion, sometimes it looks like the word aggression has the base root of greed. Okay, and if you look at it very closely, this is basically a war of greed. This ain't got nothing to do with Israel's security. Okay, remember this: Israel provoked and instigated the war, current conflagration that they're having, or war that they're having with Lebanon right now. They instigated that. Okay, and then they have this Iron Dome that is supposed to stop missiles coming in. Basically, a technology that was developed in conjunction with the United States. And then this coward that's supposed to be the ambassador, or whatever he is, State Department guy, Blinken, I believe his name is, another total idiot, a total weak-minded fool. It's almost like these people are scared. You know, like they say on the street, this nigga's scared. See, it's almost like the United States scared to reboot, R-E-B-U-K-E, reboot the Israeli government, and this in its horrible way. Look, there's a humanitarian crisis happening right now in Palestine with people of color. Now, whether you give a damn or not about it, that's fine. That's your prerogative. It's all good, but at the very least, understand that the same thing that's happening in Israel is happening in the United States against Black Americans, based on that piece of shit Trump, a fascist. That's that everybody using the F word. No, not fuck. He's a fascist. And if you don't know what fascism is, just look at how Trump says he would run this country if he is re-elected president. His rhetoric is exactly what a fascist said. If you want, remember, this guy enamors himself with the policies and procedures of authoritarian figures. Remember, authoritarians, they don't know how to rule, and they don't know how to govern. Okay, they know how to strong arm. There's a difference between ruling people and governing people. Authoritarian figures, they don't know how to rule. They don't know how to govern. They don't know how to govern. They know how to strong arm. You see, they know how to take control of the military and enforce their will on the people. Okay, that's why a lot of these authoritarian governments don't have a democratic voting process. And then when they do have a so-called democratic voting process, it is what's the word I'm looking for? It is intercepted. Okay, that's not the real word I'm looking for, but it'll do for right now. They intercede in the process of look at this piece of shit in Venezuela. This piece of shit lost 80% of the vote, but then he still declared himself the winner of the election, and then is hunting he's hunting the man that was legally elected by the people. He's hunting this man in absentia, because dude had to flee the country, or Maduro would have had him killed. simply because he won the election based on the will of the people. Now, let me just tell you one thing about how people like Maduro operate, which is the same way Trump wants to operate. See, most of his people that are supporting him are rich and have grown rich off the backs of the majority of the people. That's what this devil-ass piece of filth Trump wants to do also. Okay? He wants to enrich his cronies, his cabal. He wants to enrich them off the backs of them. Remember, Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about the American people. And then to show you how weak and stupid his supporters are. And remember, the Republican cult, they're not a party, they're a cult. The Republican cult, they cater to the worst members of our society, and that is who votes for Trump. The worst members of our society. So if you're listening to this and you're a Trump supporter, go fuck yourself. Because you're better off doing it yourself, because when your president that you're attempting to elect again, as soon as he gets in office, he's gonna fuck you. Because he doesn't give a damn about you. And you are so mentally weak. You so mentally weak. As opposed to voting for someone that might help you, you're going to vote for somebody that will not help you. And in fact, is telling you this. I'm Robert Isaiah. Name of our organization is Insight Virtual Management Services. We try to give you quality of life information. At the same time, we try to help you out with information that's going to help you engage community stakeholders. Okay? Date 9, today, 12/24, October 16. Have you ever ran into a problem landlord? Let me tell you the first thing you do with a problem landlord. Say you having problems with your heat. Do you know the procedure to go to besides calling up New Jersey 211? They call it build a case, like a lawyer does. Because most poor people, we won't be able to afford a lawyer, so we're going to end up representing ourselves. I say ourselves because I too am poor, okay, and a senior. So we're one of the most vulnerable populations, other than young children, and we are easily exploited by scum of the earth landlords. You know the type. Kicking people out, not accepting housing choice vouchers, better known as Section 8. You know the pieces of filth we're talking about. Not providing proper heat, probably because they're paying for it. Not responding to your concerns about your quality of life and where you live. And by the way, there's a covenant, not a law. Keep this in mind. There's no law that states that you have the right that you can enforce. There is no enforceable law. However, there's an enforceable covenant in New Jersey that basically says, look, you see, your landlord doesn't want you to know this information. So this is why I'm going to give you the community engagement stakeholder that you need to deal with these pieces of shit when you have a problem tenant or landlord. First of all, remember this. You have rights as a tenant. The state of New Jersey publishes a manual. I think it's 100 and some odd 30 page manual that explains what your tenant rights are. Also, what I also would like you to know, There's a similar handbook that explains what landlords' rights are. Okay, but we don't give a shit about them. That's only for reference when you have to take these pieces of shit to court. Okay, now keep this in mind. I'm not saying that all landlords are pieces of shit. Just most. Just most. One of the first things you do, you get that New Jersey tenant rights handbook. I think the latest version is 2021, 2022, something like that. It's fairly up to date because the laws of landlord-tenant laws don't change. But remember this, unless you can afford a lawyer, you're going to end up representing yourself. And when you go into that courtroom, ladies and gentlemen, the judge doesn't give a damn that you can't afford a lawyer. That's the horrible scumbaggery of the criminal justice system. If you're poor, you don't get proper representation 90% of the time, unless you have your ducks in a row. So the first thing I can offer as quality of life community engagement information, first of all, go to your first stakeholder. Your first stakeholder you go to is you go to New Jersey Law. It's a website, and you do your research on how to build your case. And then you fill out a form. And then that form that you're going to fill out is what you're going to submit when you want to file suit against your landlord. Special civil part. There's basically two forms you can fill out. One is if you plan on going to Superior Court and sue for less than, if I remember correctly, less than $15,000. And then there's a suit that a packet that you file if you're going to sue for more than $25,000. If you're going to sue for more than $25,000. That's the first thing you got to decide. Because the only thing that's going to get your landlord's attention is when you sue them for money. Keep that in mind. That's the only thing that's going to catch their attention. You can talk to the property management, who's nothing more than an extension of a bad landlord. Bad landlords usually have bad property management. So make sure you understand that, ladies and gentlemen, before you begin this process. It's going to be tedious. Best thing to do is get someone to help you. IVMS will help you. You can call us at 908-324-6148, and we'll give you as much information we can to help you. But more than likely, we're going to redirect you to our website, ivms.com.safespacenj.org. Don't worry about how long the name is. You only have to type it once. Because once you type it into your URL in your browser, it'll come right up again. So you don't have to keep typing that long name. I know it's long. Sure. I know it's long. But get over it. You want help? Do you care if you want food and you got to stand on a long line? Well, if you want legal help, okay. And by the way, we're not giving you legal help per se, Your Honor. But what we're doing is we're giving you procedures to follow when you have a problem landlord and a problem tenant. We're concentrating on the problem landlord first is because more than likely that's what you're going to be running into if you live in a scumbag building. See, I live in Newark, one of the worst places on earth to live if you have a problem with a landlord. Why? Because they have these so-called Newark codes that allow the landlord to get away with murder. For instance, do you know that after 11 o'clock, the temperature in your home or your apartment, it can be 65 degrees. During the day, it could be 68 degrees. Do you know that the heat has to be on by October 1st? In fact, your apartment has to have heat from October 1st to May 1st. Do you know that your landlord is obligated by law to provide you heat during these time frames? 65 degrees in the winter, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, it's cold. I'm a senior. I know that's cold. That's cold. That's not that. You got to. Oh man. Like I said, I live in Newark. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Newark is one of the worst places on earth if you have a problem with a landlord. However, there are ways to put a light of fire under their ass. First thing you do, you contact Newark codes. I should say you contact in your municipality. There is a department in your municipality, codes or something similar. You ever heard somebody say my building is not up to spec or up to code? Well, the people that make that determination are also the same people that you call when you have a problem with your landlord, especially if it's regarding some sort of utility situation. Also, be very fluent in what your lease says. Tear your lease apart step by step. You can contact IVMS and we will help you with that. You can also reach us at ivms.org at gmail.com. Let me say that again, ivms.org at gmail.com. You can see it right in behind me. See it behind me? See the banner? Okay. Look to your right or left and you'll see it on our banner right behind you. You have to be fluent with what your lease says, okay? First thing you better realize about your lease is going to clearly state what the landlord is entitled to give you as far as utility. The lease says it. Just like your landlord is going to use the lease against you, you can use the lease against them. You see a lot of apartment buildings. They're owned by groups. Hard to find out who the true owner is, except for going through meticulous research regarding records, building records. And then keep in mind, a lot of the people that are paid to help you find out that information, they're going to be reluctant to help you. I know it's a damn shame, but this is how pieces of shit are. They get paid a salary and then they don't want to earn it. That's not all workers, but a lot. Find out, look at your lease. Find out what your obligations are as a tenant and make sure you find out what their obligations are as a landlord. These people are obligated to provide you certain services. Again, get that tenant handbook and you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. Depending on the city that you're in, you'll find out how good or bad your city is based on how they enforce landlord-tenant law. Newark, oh man. The landlord can get away with murder practically in Newark. As far as being a landlord, a property owner, okay? If you live in a house, a lot of times those buildings, those houses that are for rent, they're owned by private individuals looking to make a quick rental income. They don't live in the building. They don't even live in the city. They probably don't even live in the state, but more than likely they may live in the state, but they damn sure don't live in your neighborhood. A lot of them are Asians, Hispanics, whites. They just looking to flip money into a rent, looking to pull a revenue stream out of a rental property. Simple as that. That's all they see that building is. As I should say. This is the reality. I'm dropping the science on you. Next thing you do, after you do your research, prepare your paperwork, your suit paperwork. Make sure you got the address right where you're going to send it. You know where you can get that information? Look at your lease. Somewhere on your lease, somewhere in your lease, on your lease, you'll see the address to send documents to, such as your rental payment. If you don't drop it off personally. See, me personally, I can't stand that automated rental scenario where you got to send in the money to I despise that, because then your payment can be lost. It's always better to hand your money to a live person in a rental office. And here's another thing. If your rental office doesn't give their hours on outside, like most legitimate places, you can tell if your place is legitimate or not. You know how you gonna tell? They'll have the hours of operation listed on the front of the building or on the front of the office where the property manager resides. If you don't see that information, you live in a bum joint. Which you are. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You probably know that already. You live in a bum joint. Take a picture of that. Trust me. You know why? Because if you go to see your property manager and they're not there, now go back to your lease and look at the hours that they say they're going to be available. They usually say during business hour. If they don't explain, if they don't break down what those business hours are in that lease, at the very least, that's another bullet in your clip if you have to take your landlord to court. I'm dropping science here. Ask me why. Ask me how I know this. I've been through it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been through it. Might have to go through it again. You see, when you have a problem tenant, a problem tenant doesn't give a damn about themselves or anyone else. You can use that against them to get them kicked out. I'll give you an example. I had a problem with a tenant down the hall. Nice lady, nice person. I mean, I'm going to show you a contrast in tenant issues and tenant problems. Nice lady, but unfortunately she was being exploited by someone, and she wasn't very sanitary, and her apartment was generating a lot of roaches. You stand by the elevator, boom. Oh, I live at 555 Elizabeth Avenue in Newark. Okay. Poor property management. Ownership is cheap. Her apartment, you stand by the elevator, you can see multiple roaches just streaming out of her apartment. We kept complaining, and then I despise roaches because I grew up living with roaches. And as I became an adult and started paying my own rent, I made sure that I would never be in a situation that I would have to have roaches. Now they have an exterminator that comes in, but the exterminator is based. The exterminator is at the mercy of the person or the people or the property management that's paying them. Keep that in mind about your extermination. Okay. Remember this. Here's a tidbit. Dateline right now. Don't disparage your landlord in front of the maintenance or your exterminator, because they are basically employees of the property management, which means by default they're employees of ownership. Okay? Look at your lease and find out what the maintenance situation. I'm willing to bet you dollars to donut everything in the lease is not being done by your landlord. And if it affects your quality of life, then you make note of that. I keep saying make note of stuff because the point being is this. When you go to defend yourself, and more than likely you're going to have to defend yourself, you can win, but you have to have your ducks in a row. You got to have your paperwork correct. You have to have your facts correct. Me personally, I'm meticulous like that. Me personally, I don't bother anybody. Okay? That helps also. I don't bother anybody. Okay? Me and my friends, we can. I don't have a huge amounts of people streaming in and out of my apartment. Most people that come to my house are in my inner circle, which is very small. The older you get, the smaller your circle is. What's my point? The point is this: make sure you don't have you're not giving anybody any ammo, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, because as soon as you go to court, your landlord gonna try to jam you up by bringing up stuff. But here's the beauty of that: if they didn't give you any paperwork, it didn't exist. It suddenly exists for the trial. Keep that in mind. Best way not to get no paperwork, and I don't have any paperwork on me. Why? Because I don't bother anybody. I got a life, first of all. Most people that are bad tenants, they don't have a life. Their life is to make other people miserable. Okay, use that against them, and Akets. Okay, and watch this. Women, if you got children, be especially cognizant of what I'm telling you. You know, make sure you down with what I'm trying to drop. Know who your engagement, your stakeholders are. Your stakeholders are the people that you go to when you need help or some sort of service. You understand? For instance, if you need food, IVMS will tell you where to go. If you need a pantry hookup, we'll do the research. We'll tell you where to go. Just give us your county. We'll tell you where to go. Okay, I work at a pantry, so I frequently have leftover food. I mean, I got some food right now. I'm gonna take downstairs and put it in the spot where people drop off food that they want other people to have. All right, I'm not a greedy person. I can't eat all that food. I can hold on to it when I need it, but guess what? I can also take it downstairs and give it to other people. That's another bit of quality of life information that we're going to drop for you. If you needed it, that's another stakeholder that information we're giving you. IVMS will put you in contact with pantries in your area. If you don't know where they are, we'll find out where they are. I live in the Essex County area, so there's the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. They'll put you in contact with a local pantry and hook you up. Okay? They also are the main benefactors of large-scale pantries like where I work at. And I say work. I work there as a volunteer. I'm not getting paid to do it. I go there because I want to help others and give out food to others, and at the same time, I get me a little piece of something every now and then. You see what I'm saying? I will work for my food, but you don't have to. You can just come stand in line like everybody else and get it. Okay? Keep that in mind. We're just about running out of time right now. My name is Robert Isaiah. We are here to drop signs about quality of life information. We're here to drop signs about community stakeholders, like we just told you about the legal scenario and the food pantry. We have to keep our podcasts short and sweet because people don't have a really high attention span sometimes unless you give them something, a little something. We try to give you a little something. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching our podcast. I'm Robert Isaiah, and this has been Insight Virtual Management Services InfoPod. Thanks for listening, y'all. Thank you.